Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 8th Selectmen's meeting. So I'd like to start with introductions. Tonight we have Kelly Bigos, our recording secretary, Tom Wooden, our town manager, and Selectmen Tricia Warren, Wendy Wolf, myself, Denise Griffin, Bill Hamblin, and Russ Hoffman.
Still, yes.
Still Russ Hoffman, yes. All right, moving on to town manager announcements. Tom.
Thank you. This afternoon, I sent around to you via email the proposed fee schedule for next year. Hopefully we can address that at the next meeting in June.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. Also, I just wanted to remind people of the fireworks schedule this year because it's slightly different than it has been in other years because the Windjammer Day event is a week-long event this year. So the Friends of Windjammer Days asked me last year to set it up a little differently. So the Windjammer Day fireworks are on Wednesday night as they usually are, but the rain date is the following night, it's Thursday. They don't automatically get moved to the 4th of July. If that Thursday doesn't work, we'll try to do it each one of the nights during that week, during the Windjammer week. If by some chance that doesn't work, then we will double them up on the 4th of July. So. The request for proposal for the fish pier pilings went out a second time because we only got one bid the first time. We've also changed the parameters of that slightly so that the more crucial pilings, the 6 pilings or so underneath the Atlantic edge, are the priority that need immediate attention, and the other phase of the work can be done when the contractors can get to that. The time frame on the first proposal seemed to be too short, and that seemed to be what the issue was with that. So these are due back by June 19th, just so you know. Also at the next meeting, I will bring the list of municipal officials and so forth for appointments. I just wanted to remind people that we still have an opening for one position on the planning board. We have one regular position on the budget committee. We have 2 vacant positions on the budget committee. We also have 1 on the Board of Appeals and 2 on the Port Committee. So not regular positions, but the alternates. I didn't mean vacant, the alternate positions. So we get a couple more weeks to get some more applications in for that, and then we'll be doing that at the next meeting as well.
And Tom, how are we getting the word out other than right now in this venue here or on the, I'll say, cable television? You guys sign up for committees, but beside that...
I'd say that's
yeah.
one way.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
hope this is one
Yeah.
way, but...
It's on the town website, it's on Facebook. It's posted around, at least on our board here. I don't know if it's posted other places. I don't think it is. I don't know if Katrina has written an article a couple of weeks ago on that or not. But any other places you'd like to have that advertised, we'll do it. So we have advertised it in the paper once or twice too. We had an ad running for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I thought I saw it in the register.
Yep.
Okay.
The only other thing I have this evening was roughly 10 days or so ago, I broached the idea with the board about maybe for July and August going to 1 meeting a month. And I heard back from a couple of you positively as far as doing that as long as it stayed at 7 o'clock. I just wanted to see how the rest of the board felt about that.
I would prefer that we keep the meeting scheduled. It seems like, although it is lighter in the summer, something always comes up that could stand attention rather than waiting for a month. So I would prefer that we keep the schedule, and if 3 or 4 days before the meeting there nothing has arisen, then we can always cancel the meeting then. But I'd like the default to be to have the meetings every 2 weeks. I think we should do that.
That's the board.
I'm fine with that too, sure.
Okay, that's all the announcements I have. Oh, no, I do have one more, sorry. The Deputy Harbor Master ad comes down this Friday. That's the last of my announcements.
Okay, great. Financials, Julia.
Okay. I have the revenue and expense sheet. Total revenue year to date, $7,319,178.22. Total expenses year to date, $7,198,299.72. Does anyone have any questions on the revenue or expense sheets? As you can tell by the graph, the revenue collected year to date has, the gap has closed in, so we're 0.1% in comparison to this time last year.
How about expenses? Are they gonna coalesce?
I would say no, that probably won't close because of the undesignated fund balance.
Okay.
And other factors. The total bank balance is $2,132,225.11. And accounts payable is $254,262.21.
Right? Any comments? I think it sounds like we're in good shape.
Yeah, we have one more warrant until the end of the fiscal year, so one more accounts payable.
Okay. Before we move on to approving the minutes, actually, I just want to go back and ask you something, Tom. Is there any news yet from the town of Booth Bay about the Economic Development Committee?
They were going to contact a few people that had expressed interest, but I have not heard
Okay,
back
no
from
news
from
yet,
Dan on
okay,
that, no.
because I know that, I think our people are anxious to
We're
meet.
ready, yeah.
We're ready, and Mary Ellen Barnes from Lincoln County Planning, Regional Planning would like to come to the first meeting, so we're ready.
Okay.
So we're
I'll
chomping
remind
at the
them-
bit.
I'll remind them again. Yep.
Okay.
Tom, you mentioned Windjammer Week, and I believe they're gonna close the byway and have Artist Alley there again.
Correct. Yep.
Last year, we needed to vote to close that. Did we do a blanket on that, or do we need to do that again?
Well, you might as well do it again. Yeah, I mean, I've already told them they can do it, but you can certainly.
I understand, but I do think it's a requirement that the
Yeah.
selectmen
Go.
need to vote. So I move that we close the byway to support the Artist Alley during Windjammer Week.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No, all in favor? All right. Great, thank you. All right, any other little items for Tom?
How are we coming on signs?
The
Wayfinding signs.
I'm waiting to hear back from Tony on if they have comparable mapping for Booth Bay that they have for Booth Bay Harbor, and he's still looking into that.
Okay.
I think Booth Bay Harbor we could do relatively easily, but if we want to have it be the same, then we gotta.
Yeah, the thought was a regional and then a local.
Right.
So,
Right.
okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, so under item number 5, the consent agenda, we're gonna break these items out like we've done for the past couple of meetings. And so the first piece of business here is to approve the minutes of the May 26th meeting.
So
and-
moved.
Thank you. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
And I'm gonna abstain
You,
since I wasn't
you were
here.
not here. Great, okay, great. So now we'll move forward to the new victualer's license, which thought I had these in order and.
Well,
no, I
off
don't.
and filter.
Yeah. We have in front of us a request for a Class D victualer's license from Wanawaf at 31 Granary Way, and a Class H from T. Philbrook Enterprise LLC, formerly the Booth Bay Lobster Wharf. Can I hear a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just a point of clarification, and I asked this of Tom earlier. The Philbrook license replaces the license that we had granted to the Booth Bay Lobster Wharf because of the new ownership.
That's
That
correct.
is my understanding. So this is not, in addition to, this is a brand-new license that goes with the Philbrook LLC.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, motion carries. Those are approved. Next, we'll take on the two liquor, well, yes, three, excuse me, liquor license renewals. Well, two renewals, one new. The renewals are the Booth Bay Harbor Yacht Club and the Lobster Dock. And the new license is for the former Booth Bay Lobster Wharf, which had been previously approved not very long ago.
By Philbrook Enterprise.
Yes, by Philbrook Enterprise.
I'll move to accept the 3 liquor license, the 2 renewals from the Yacht Club and Lobster Dock, and the new from T. Philbrook Enterprises.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any concerns?
Just
Now's
note
your
that
time.
all of these have been initialed by the police chief.
Okay, seeing no concerns or questions, all in favor? Okay, motion carries. And next we have special amusement licensees. And I think we'll just take these one at a time. I think that's what we did at the other meeting, and it seems, I think it'll be, go quicker this way. So the first one is from Mama D's Cafe, name of applicant Lori Demers, a scheduled planned entertainment, a Wednesday night, 1 day a week from 6 to 8 p.m.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
The police chief noted there were no complaints in the past year when they had a similar amusement, which was inside. Any discussion?
Yes, I just have a question. On the license, the last sentence says, "I or a responsible representative will attend the licensing board hearing on this application to accept or reject any conditions or restrictions placed on the approval of the application." That's been my observation, that we typically don't have people here to speak to the special amusement license, even though it's part of the proviso of the signature. And I'm just wondering why, if we're having them sign that they will be here, why they're not here.
Well, that was put on there to actually certify that they were familiar with the codes of the harbor and the amusement licenses. We haven't had situations where the board's insisted on them to attend, but if you prefer I do that going forward, I can have them attend.
Well, it does say that they will attend so they can answer questions. This seems to be, special amusement license seems to be the one that we spend most of our time answering questions on. And it would appear if we make that a proviso that they should probably come. Otherwise, I don't know why we have it as a proviso when they have a signature verifying that they'll be here.
I agree, we should ask that they attend.
Fine, okay,
Going forward.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't,
fine.
so.
Yeah, yeah, if we can communicate that for the
For
license
the
coming
future.
up, yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't have any other questions. on
good.
that, so-
All right, shall we take a vote on this? All in favor of Mama D's special amusement? Okay, that passes. The next one is, I think, a
New.
repeat because of the new owners. Special amusement at T. Philbrook Enterprises, or formerly the Booth Bay Lobster Wharf. And the scheduled planned entertainment is May through October, Friday and Saturday, 5 to 9, Sunday, 1 to 4. And they have signed that they understand what our ordinances, codes are. And I believe they included the same map that was included last time. Am I correct on that? It's the same
It looks
one?
like the same one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve this
Yeah,
license.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
So so this is checked off as a Class A unamplified vocal or instrumental music. Is that right? Is that what
That's
I'm
correct.
saying?
Yeah, that's correct.
what's
That's
checked
right.
off.
Yep.
So
Which is-
that's what we'll be approving.
Which is different from the license for the Lobster Wharf from 2
Right.
meetings ago.
Well, we can only approve what's in
No,
front of us.
I understand. I'm just making an
So,
observation.
is there anybody here representing T. Philbrook Enterprises? Okay, that being the
Going?
case. Discussion.
Yeah.
Donna, sorry. You want to state your name and your address?
Yes, my name is Donna Piggott, and I'm located at 62 Atlantic Avenue. I just wanted a little clarification. This is amplified music, right?
No,
No.
this time,
Unamplified, it
they've
says.
asked for unamplified.
Okay. May I ask, the previous owners of the Lobster Wharf, was that amplified?
Yes.
Okay. That may make a significant difference because I'm recently very much present at my home this summer. And Sunday, I'm located so far away from the Lobster Wharf, I'm actually really surprised. Sunday, I went out over Memorial Day weekend to relax on my porch. Actually could not go out there, it was so loud. So I went back in. Saturday night, this last Saturday night, I had my windows shut. Now, I'm right across from Griffin Law Firm, I had my windows shut in my bedroom, and I could hear that music. So I called the police and complained. Now, that was amplified. So unamplified. And is there a limit on the band, or is there a kind of?
No.
No, I don't think we'll be saying
Well,
that. They've
the-
asked for unamplified vocal music, and the limits that they need to operate under are those which are built into the code.
Well, I think that's probably much better, because my concern was, it would be so nice on the east side if this music was basically contained to the property, so that it wasn't music that was spreading on the whole east side. If it's not amplified, I can't say anything, I won't know what it's going to sound like, but I suspect it won't be like it has been the last few weeks. That's it.
Okay.
Any other?
Any other comments? All right. All in favor? Okay, this is approved. All right, moving on to old business. At the last meeting, we approved a special amusement for the Rock Tide Inn, and there was nobody present from the inn. I think they're present tonight. But in the interest of time, the neighbor did ask if he could have a special accommodation and speak on this topic first. So, Mr. Perkins, would you like to say what's on your mind?
I'm Jim Perkins, I live at 43 Atlantic Avenue. It's great to be back home and among the people I know and respect. When the Rock Tide is in their full entertainment mode, it's impossible to hear yourself talk on the deck. It faces their band. I think we'd be better off if it was unamplified or inside or less of them or something. And I would like to report that we had a success, albeit my skepticism the successful and the applicability of the town's noise ordinance. When they started playing this last Sunday, it was loud as usual, so I complained. They sent an officer to look at it. He briefed me on the sound meter, then went off and took a reading right at the end of the period, and then halfway down there was a table and a couple of chairs. I said it was successful from my standpoint. The reading taken where the chairs sitting on the table was in the low 80s. And he went next door and asked him to turn it down. Unfortunately, this was late in the cycle. But we'd had 2 cycles already. But I appreciate the effort made by the chief of police, and I hope we can get a little early next week. It really is a serious impediment to conversation and doing anything else on the deck when we have the amplified band on Wednesday.
All right, thanks for your comments. Mr. Sullivan, do you want to add some comments to your application, or do you have questions for us? I mean, I think...
Well, the first question is, why we were adopted to what Ralph asked for at his place. We didn't ask for what Ralph asked for, so we just asked to follow the law that's in place. It never talked about numbers of people. It just talked about a sound. The sound was the important thing, not the numbers in the band. So we've had Benny Betts play for the last year and a half on the deck. There's never been an issue, never been a complaint. He does play with amplified backing to his steel drum. We were adding the Danny Tribesmen on Wednesday nights from 4 to 7. And they were going to be a 3-piece. They would be amplified, but they would be done at 7 o'clock at night. I worked very closely with the chief of police. We had 2 sound checks before we played any music outside. On both sound checks, we could not get the music to register on the town's meter. On Sunday, we brought a different police officer in during sound check. We could not get the sound to exceed the 80 decibel on our deck. We went over to near Jim's and we listened over there. We were down in the 60s. He came back a second time. Everything was still good. He came back a third time and said, Jim got a reading of, he got an 80 over where he was. I said, oh my God, how can that be? We've been all over the place. So as I went behind the band, all of a sudden my meter went up to 80. And I realized that their monitors faced backwards. So what we're listening to out front of the mains, and that's what everyone hears, but the band themselves have monitor speakers that they listen to. Those were at a higher level than the front speakers. So once I realized that, I went around and I said, it's the monitors that are giving us the trouble. It's not what's going on. I even had to patrolman go across the harbor and try to get a reading from there, just to make sure that, that the readings are low. But what I did find, and this is to Jim's point, is the reason the monitors are bouncing off the motel building and going left and right, and that's right in Jim's direction to the left. So I talked to the band about the monitor issue. We're going to put some baffling in the corner, but we're also going to reduce the level of the monitors and also change the placement of the monitors. And that should pretty much eliminate Jim getting the level of sound he's getting at his place. Now, I don't think it was a sustained 80. I think I went out on the deck today, just so you know, at 5 o'clock before I came here, and the wind itself gave me an 80-degree blip. It's not a sustained 80 degrees, but all of a sudden the meter goes to 80 and then it drops down to 66. The wind itself did that. So I think that obviously we're trying our best to accommodate our neighbors. Like I say, we thought we had it, and I think the patrolman thought we had it. But it wasn't until I went backstage with the meter that I realized this is where the problem is. So as far as the other part is, Ralph's deck is about 5 feet deep. There's really no need to have an amplified band on a deck that you're only going to have 5 foot of play area to play to someone. Our deck is much larger and it's more appropriate for an amplified band.
So I'd like to get a little clarity about, because I read something in the paper, I saw your ad in the paper. I'd just like to be really clear on what the band schedule is. So I've heard the steel drum, I agree, no one's ever made any complaints about that. That's been perfectly fine in past years. But the Wednesday night,
That is Dave Gagne, his wife, and he was going to be a 3-piece with a drummer. Not allowed, I don't know if you've ever heard Dave before, but he's not a loud band. It's a reggae style, which is not a loud style of music. And so that was going to be new this year. And
Wednesdays only.
Wednesdays only.
From what time to what
4 to
time?
7.
4 to 7. But you're aware that our in the codes, the decibel level changes at 6 o'clock.
I thought it was at 7.
It's at 6, so you best refresh yourself on the codes. Just a suggestion on my part. So, if it's not a loud group, maybe it won't matter. So, all right. And then the Sunday afternoon group is only Sundays, not Saturdays and Sunday afternoons.
Correct.
One afternoon a week.
Correct.
Okay.
If I could interject,
Sure.
I haven't heard the Wednesday operation, so I'm a little reluctant to sign up for it. I signed up for the steel drums. I don't think they're particularly intrusive, but adding a bass drum adds significant noise because of the lower frequencies.
Yeah, I understand that might be the case. I think that we did approve the group, and the remedy, well, perhaps not the remedy, but the suggestion on the board's part is for any neighbors or residents or people in the area that have a concern for it is to do exactly what you did on Sunday, and that's to call the police, and the police will come over and measure the noise with their sound meters. So I think we had a really, really long discussion about this at the last meeting. The room was full of residents from the east side because there were a lot of people that were concerned about the music in general from a number of establishments. And so I think I'm just going to reiterate something I've said all along. It's certainly been the board's philosophy over the past couple of years, is that we're really asking neighbors to work together, whether you are a resident or a business. But we'd really like to ask both residents and businesses to collaborate and to see whether we could come to a happy resolution amongst yourselves. So that would be, I think, our picture of the ideal world. You know, there may very well be other businesses in town that ask for afternoon outside amusement, and I think because of the way the music carries across the water, we all know it does that. We all know that It does it so much that you can have a person in a boat, I don't know how far across the water, and I can hear it when I'm sitting on my patio at my house. It's amazing. And I might not be able to hear them if I was in the boat with them, but when it comes across that water, it just does. And that's really part of the challenge, I think, of music and other noise in the harbor. It just is what it is to some extent, so.
The band, a couple of times on Sunday, or baiting the guys on the other side of the harbor. Can you see me? Can you hear me now? We could forego that, I think.
Yes, we don't need Battle of the Bands.
That's-
Yeah, right. I don't really think well, at least most of us don't want to pursue that scenario. So, I see the police chief in the back of the room. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
Here to answer
Okay.
any questions.
All right, the process that you outlined at the last meeting seemed to work fairly well.
The officers are doing a good job reporting what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what the decibel's reading, where they're taking the readings from. And they've all reported to me, as I said the last time, that the businesses are doing a good job communicating and wanting to fall well within the law, within the ordinance.
The officer who came to my place on Sunday was very confident and polite, and put my cares at rest.
Okay.
Denise Midtwice from the Lobster Dock. I agree with Jim, it had been quite loud prior, but Larry Brown did come over in years past. Larry Brown did come over with a meter from Radio Shack, and he did measure on Admiral Jim's deck, and then he said, let's go check out, your patio area down below. And it worked fine, and it seemed to me to be less than it had been in years, but again, it's gonna be wind, what song they're playing.
Exactly.
It wasn't a great crowd. Usually they have a nice crowd. They're cheering on the band, and it's a great outside activity. It's just, sometimes we can't hear ourselves down in the picnic area ourselves, and I didn't find that as loud this past Sunday. I just wanted to clarify a comment I made before, that what happens is people tie up on other people's moorings to listen to the music, and they do have boats that park in our marina, and I don't go down and kick them off. What I have asked is that people pay for that spot for the season, and when that boater returns to our slip, they can't get into the slip because there's another boat listening to the music. So I don't kick people off the dock.
Well, that's understandable. So, okay. All right.
Can I ask a
Yeah, sure.
question? Mr. Sullivan, I'm looking at your sketch, and I guess I'm familiar, I think I'm familiar with that deck, but what would you say is the distance from the water's edge to the motel?
Water's edge to the motel would be approximately 55 feet.
50, yeah. And the band is sort of back against the
Yeah,
motel?
the 55 gives it to the face of the motel. The
Yep.
band's back about 40 from
Right.
the...
And the speakers, you said, you described the monitors as likely bouncing off the motel.
Correct.
The speakers that they project with, first of all, are facing outward, right, toward the harbor?
Correct.
And are they back by the band, or
Yeah,
are they?
No, you're always just slightly in front of the microphone.
So the folks that you're entertaining are between the band and the water,
Right.
right there on the deck?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the monitors are solely for the band themselves, to give them the mix that they want to hear so they can perform. But it doesn't have to be as loud, and it certainly doesn't have, we can change the direction of the monitors so
Right.
that they go
Yeah.
into the bar area for us, as
Right.
opposed to slapping right back off the wall and then spreading left and right.
And these baffles that you were describing would go
Well, they
where?
can only help. Anything that
Yeah.
we put in place, to knock down sound is gonna help. So what we're gonna do is start by putting canvas across the corner, Jim's corner, and see what that does. But I really think that much bigger than that is gonna be the monitors. Okay? The monitors trust me when I say, we went all over the place and could not get a bad reading. When the band was playing, it wasn't until I went behind them that all of a sudden I got a bad reading. And it was the last thing I expected. You know, because all you can think of is, all the music's headed, you know, across the harbor. But it was the monitors that were and it's what he's hearing, just the monitor mix.
Okay, thanks.
So I think the proposed changes that you're going to make sound good. When do you think those will be made by?
Sunday.
Excellent. Great. Okay. All right, is there anything else that needs to be said about this topic?
I have one question. Are you changing the restrictions, or are you still limiting them?
Yeah, I believe we need to amend.
Okay, what are we, let's be specific about
Right,
what we're amending to.
I'm still a little unclear on who's playing when, where. So the steel drum is a multi-person group?
One person.
One person.
One
So-
person with a backing track.
So that's fine. And when does he play?
plays Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Or it's-
Okay, so you, all right, and then Wednesday, you have the reggae group, which is the
Correct, that's a three-piece.
three-piece. And then Sunday afternoons, you hit,
It's Nikki Hunt primarily. We've got the Holy Mackerels for 2 dates.
Nikki Hunter and the Holy Mackerel. So that's more than 2 people, and that's the loudest probably of those groups.
Without a doubt,
Yeah, okay. And that occurs once a week
on Sunday.
on Sundays. All right. So, first of all, let me back up. I am delighted to hear that you are taking steps to try and work with Jim and control this, and that's wonderful news, and I'm glad our system worked, and I'm glad the police came and all of that, and that's much better than we were last year, I think, at this time, so I'm delighted to have that. It sounds to me like you asked for 7 days a week. It sounds like you need 7 days a week. It sounds like you are at odds with the, I think we had, our restrictions were,
Is that night only?
was the 4 to 7 too. So if we go from 2 players to 3 players, does that not meet your needs?
It does mean,
Okay. So that would be the only modification we need to make.
Monday through Saturday.
Or just Wednesday?
Well,
That's right.
or
mean, Wednesday
or
is-
Wednesday, and we can be specific about when
Yeah.
Beth's plays.
the only thing we feel is that really your statute as written should be the determining factor. You know, my joke was about the 100 kazooers, but certainly I would love the freedom to put, you know, whatever I wanted to put out there as long as it didn't violate the sound statute. There's so much great music out there that, you know, we might want to put a 9-piece jazz band out there one day. And as long as it, you know, to me, it's really the sound and what effect that has on the neighbors as opposed to who's on the stage.
Yes, I would agree with you. I don't think our role is to dictate how you compose the musicians and put them together. You could have an a cappella choir of 4 people and meet the noise ordinance. Our ruling is, are you within the noise ordinance for the special amusement license? So I don't think our role is to tell proprietors how many musicians they can have on what night. As long as they're
Okay.
within the noise ordinance.
Well, how would you like to amend?
Well, if we follow
Or-
Wendy's
or-
suggestion, we would remove the condition of no more than 2 musicians, and that would, I think, meet your
Yeah.
request.
What about
And the-
the not unamplified only? Is there any issue with that?
I don't believe there is an issue with that. I don't quite understand your question.
Well, she was saying, because Ralph asked for unamplified, either singles or duos.
Yeah.
And that's what you put on us, was unamplified singles or duos.
In Ralph's case, Ralph offered and agreed to those restrictions,
Right, but at the
so.
previous meeting, you said the same conditions placed on Ralph, which included unamplified. So I was just wondering if those conditions are going to be on Rocktide as well.
No.
Well, their application is
think-
for Class A, B, C, and D, which means unamplified, entertainment other than music, I guess a train seal or something like that. That was a joke for everyone's benefit. Amplified vocal or instrumental music, as well as dancing. So in my mind, that's the application, and as long as they're within the noise ordinance, then that would be what I feel is the application we need to approve.
And what I'll add is, I've already told the bands that if they can't abide by the ordinance, they can't play for us. So it's up front, and
Good.
it'll be talked about before every show, and it's up to them to behave.
It's okay with me if it's unamplified.
So noted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So
When you make the motion?
I was going to say, I'll make a motion to approve the updated special amusement license, which requests approval for Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D music as specified in the application for the Rocktide Inn.
Second.
okay, any other discussion?
So we're going back to the original application in that case?
Yes.
And undoing what we did 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
I'll have
What
to
I
defer to
understand.
you since I wasn't here for that, so.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Well, let's vote then. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay. So, motion carries. And I would just say that I will look forward to seeing the changes integrated into your plan, and because it would be nice if we could all have a really, really successful summer. I think Memorial Weekend certainly was really busy in the harbor, and if that's a harbinger of the rest of the summer, I think it's going to be great for everybody. So I hope that that is the case.
It is, it's like when I come down on my walk, I listen to the music.
Are you serving
Great.
drinks? That's the question.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right,
Whatever it takes.
Need a victular license.
right.
He's not selling it.
Right.
So, moving on then to the next piece of old business. We've invited Danielle Betts to come and talk with us about our redesign proposals for the former tennis court area.
And you have a copy of it? I brought extras.
I would love an extra.
That would be good.
If you
It's
did.
been a long time.
And this was just a sketch, so I don't have a big drawing, but I can circulate a copy around the audience if people would like to see it.
Let's see if it matches what I dug
It
up.
should.
So, just to refresh people's memory, we've been talking about this, it seems like, for over a year.
Yeah.
And the selectmen had previously agreed to replace the tennis courts with one basketball court. But what was up for discussion was exactly how to do that and how to modify, if at all, the parking area there by the football, baseball field and the former tennis courts. So,
Yeah, so the request, as it came to me, was just to simply look at the area for one or two basketball courts. And I think the request was that it be high school regulation size courts, what would fit. I think the regulations prefer north-south orientation, so that's what I tried to stick with. And there's already a gravel base there from the tennis court, so I tried to locate the basketball within that as much as possible. And then within those two options, option one, I showed some improvements to the parking area. Option two left the parking area as is, but that's just more to put another option out there, not necessarily something that you would want to consider, but. I answer any questions you have. You know, if you've been by there, you know the tennis courts sit higher, which you can't tell from the plan, but the base is, you know, probably a foot at least higher, if not more, than the surrounding lawn area. So where the football field is, there's kind of that lawn between the parking area and the football field that kind of blends into the parking lot. Then you get over where the tennis courts are, and they're perched up. So, you know, some of the things I haven't really looked at is, you know, as far as drainage under that base, the tennis courts failed.
Yeah, I assume they're up high actually to provide some drainage, because
Right.
that corner gets, as you know, gets very wet.
Yeah,
And
there's a wetland next to Emory,
Yeah.
and, you know, so those are some things that, this is just saying there's a base there, what do we do with it? Would the water create a situation where long-term basketball courts wouldn't have the kind of longevity you might want to look at? You know, would you want to get into doing test pits and excavating, putting under drains around? Haven't looked at any of that, it's just a sketch, just to see if it would fit on there.
Bless you.
So, Danielle, let me ask the question about the drainage, even though you haven't
Yep.
done any of the work, because it's my understanding, and I think this was all kind of done before I got on the board last year, that the reason the tennis courts were torn down was because of the drainage issue, and the tennis courts, it was a problem because the structural base of the tennis courts was deteriorating.
Yeah, it could be. I'm actually not familiar, I wasn't, not sure how they were built, who built them, what time frame, you know, whether they were installed appropriately or if they were, I'm assuming there's no subsurface drainage, but there's certainly high water levels around the area. The field is so flat in that area where the field drains toward the parking lot, you know, is pretty level, and there's not really a clear outlet, and then the parking lot slopes towards the road. So it's just, you know, it's one of those things that's just a flat, low, close to water
How long were the
area.
tennis courts there, Tom?
Oh, God, they've been there 20-plus years anyway. I don't.
Yeah, so maybe.
Yeah, so-
So they
I mean,
last.
there were a few major reasons why the school decided not to renovate those. One is the cost of doing that was very high. Plus, at the same time, they were looking towards bringing tennis matches and tennis tournaments to the area, which required 3 courts rather than 2. So it was their decision to put in their own courts, put in 3 so that they could accommodate both. And those tennis courts, I believe, are far enough back that they're actually on the school property
Yeah,
now.
they are.
Yeah, and these were actually on the town property. So that, I'm sure that factored into their decision too.
Yeah, I can certainly attest that those courts had 4 and 5 inch variations over a fairly short
Right.
time scale. But on the other hand, they lasted 20 years, so.
I think probably a lot more. I mean,
So
I
the- so
don't
the-
remember if they were there when I was in high school or not.
Drainage
but
may
it was
be
a long
poor,
time.
but it's probably good enough.
Right, I mean, if you just want, you know, you have a gravel base there,
Yeah.
if you recognize it for what it is and
Yeah.
how long it stood there and served as tennis courts, it certainly could work. You know, if you were gonna really start from scratch and do it right, you maybe would look at putting under drains in, but it won't do any good if you have high water level
Yeah.
that you can't drain to.
I would be inclined to simply use the gravel base that's there and.
I mean, we're gonna keep this simple, right? Just
Yeah.
pave it, and we're not gonna have any, you know, tournaments or anything like that. Repaving it is not a particularly expensive thing. So,
And there is the 2 tennis court option isn't exactly the same size as the base that's there. It's 15 feet narrower on the north side and 15 feet wider on the west. So, I mean, you certainly would have some.
I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I like the idea of a single tennis court.
Basketball court.
Basketball court, I'm sorry, basketball court. Probably pushed away from the road somewhat. That would give you an area between the court and the road for A, safety. B, I think the memorial there looks really nice, separated rather than the way it was against the chain link fence. I think it looks much better now. And 3, you leave that as a gravel base, and now you've got excess parking, overflow parking capability on that. if you wanted it. I also, that is, like it or not, that is sort of our gateway to the area as you come down 27, and I would like that to look as nice as possible. And for that reason, I really like the sketch you did of the rounded drop-off and the parking spaces set back from 27 with the green space as is now required by our codes.
Well, and the parking lot is over wide. So the
Right.
parking lot is larger than it needs to be. So one element of that I didn't mention was removing 10 feet of pavement between the sidewalk in the public right-of-way
Right.
and the edge of what could become an edge of pavement. And then, tilling that up or filling that with some loam and continuing the street tree planting. Because I think it is, you certainly having street trees very close to the road adds a different feeling.
Yeah, it
gives
does.
the town a different presence. And I think 10 years ago or more, someone did that in front of the high school, and certainly the Y's been doing their improvements, and it just, instead, it breaks up the pavement, breaks up
Right.
the heart.
Yeah.
And DEP loves that because you're disconnecting your impervious areas, so you're draining from pavement, which could have oils and things on it, into this vegetated area. It's flowing down the ditch and finally hitting the catch basin, but at least it's doing something. It's getting some filtration, and it's disconnecting it, so it's not reaching the, it's not getting there quite as quickly as it would otherwise. So, and then the third option, which of course isn't drawn, is just to do nothing and vegetate the area. I think it is beautiful with the work that's been done around the memorial and having landscaping along that street edge. And, the weather, I don't know, I'm not a fan, and I wasn't for the tennis course, in my own personal opinion, of having fencing that close to the road.
Yeah.
And having chain link that close to the road, because it is a gateway. And I think having those athletic fields is certainly, it's green space, it's attractive,
Yeah.
And so, and then just to chime in on further, in my opinion, on the drop-off, our families use that because we drop our kids off for sporting events and schools, and I know I've attended parties at the Land Trust where they run a shuttle, and they, have people park somewhere, and then they shuttle them to the van. And I know Windjammer Days was talking about doing that too for the tug of war. So I think, from a community thing, it would be nice to have a place where people could park, and there's a public restroom there that's outside of town, and
Yep.
they'd be shuttled in. So maybe not necessarily a town service, but even just a community service, so any nonprofit or group could plan for that kind of thing when they know that parking's going to be limited downtown. So that's where that piece of it came from.
Yeah. No, I like that idea.
There were a couple other considerations too that came up. I mean, in that design that shows sort of the trolley turnaround type area, you lose 6 parking spaces there. The school wasn't keen on losing more parking. They actually prefer more parking because of events and so forth that they have there. If we're considering having overflow going onto the town yard over by the basketball courts, this kind of makes that even worse. At the moment, we don't have any trolley service that goes out to the school. I mean, that's a nice to have, but we don't have a need for it at the moment. Public Works, I know, had an issue last fall when we were talking about this in October about maintenance of that island. Maintenance of that island, it's going to get dinged up plowing. It's going to be more difficult to maintain that area and move the snow out of there and so forth. So from that standpoint, I would prefer keeping it similar to the way it is now. I love the idea of bringing the tree line all the way down the street. That's going to soften that whole area tremendously. You might not see a lot of that parking lot when you start to put a lot of those trees in. So, I mean, I think some sort of morph between the two might be good.
Well, let me ask, if you eliminate the island, then your 6 spaces in the circular, you could probably turn those into face-in parking and retain then, or restore some of the number of parking spaces instead of having a parallel park. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you did, you mean option 2?
If you did this
no
option,
Yeah.
so folks can see what we're talking about, this circular thing, eliminated this, but then you could have cars parked face in, would you restore some of the parking places there or not?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do a drop off is it's a narrow one-way, it's not really wide enough for 2-way, and when you nose in at 90 degrees, you need to have at least 20.
Well, it wouldn't be a drop-off, you'd eliminate this and just basically be a parking area.
Yeah, like it is now, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the option, which is the next one? Option 2, as it is now, I mean, it is a functioning parking lot, you know, so you could just leave it and not do the drop-off.
Yes, but I like your setback on the first option of the 9 spaces where you have the additional setback for a little more green.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it the same? It doesn't look much.
Yeah, that would be the same in both, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I
yeah,
just added some more curbing, so I
Right.
basically, at the end of that 9 rows, added a landscape cap at the end, each end where you could have another tree. So, you know, I mean, that is the thing, curbing is a pain for plows, but, you know, I would do this all over Meadow Mall parking lot too, at the end of every row, because the trees just help with the heat. They provide shade, it makes it a cooler environment, and it's just a softer experience. So I'm on the opposite side of the plow person, because I think the trees add a lot of value.
Danielle, it's my observation in the morning, and correct me if I'm wrong, that 90% of the kids get dropped off going up the driveway, going up to the school. They don't
Yeah.
get dropped off in the lower parking lot.
I think that's probably true.
Everyone in town drives up to the school front door.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you wouldn't want them to walk
No,
150
no,
feet.
wouldn't do that. I don't think that's going to change.
That's,
Bill
no, it's
both
true.
directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably more when people have sporting events, or, you know, again, if there was a, you know, the land.
Yeah, I like the idea of being able,
Landscapers.
a known place where you could say, you know, we're going to drop you off at the.
Right.
whatever.
Drop-off.
Drop-off, yeah, whatever we're going to call
But,
it.
and the other part of it is you had that, is it motorcycle event or something last summer? I mean, maybe, you know, the fourth option not drawn is, it wasn't motorcycle, it was biking.
Bicycle,
You know,
Like me,
you know, just extending the parking lot all the way down, so it's a lot of where people can stage, they can set things up, they can have tents, they can use the field and,
No, I don't
you
want
know.
more pavement.
Yeah. I drive
According to the
by,
agreement with the state, it's got to be used for a recreational purpose.
Oh, okay.
So we don't want to diminish that. If we could add more recreation, that'd be good, but I wouldn't take recreation away.
I have a question.
Yep.
On option 2, where you have the single court, and the distance between the football field and the single court, how wide of a distance is that approximately?
A tennis court.
Yeah, so on option 2, the parking lot, the paved part of the parking lot is 60 feet. So if you kind of translate that over, that's probably 60 to 70.
Roughly another 60, 70.
Yeah, 60 plus. But there is a side slope there too, you know, so right now when you go out there, you're on the tennis court level, and then there's the bench slope to get it back down to the field. So the closer that you get with those 2 tennis courts, or if you had basketball court, if you had one basketball court out and then grass and then the road, it would be perched up high, you know, and then that area that's next to the baseball field is low, and that's not draining over the parking lot like it should. So this area just to the west of the existing parking lot between the baseball. So if you had you know, you would want to make sure you graded around the basketball court. If you push that basketball court toward the football field, you wouldn't want to block the drainage because it is higher.
You know, one of the thoughts I had when I first drew this out way back last fall was, if you set that basketball court further away from the road, and in between the monument and the court, you had the picnic tables and other plantings and things like that, that would also help eliminate the need for any kind of fencing there for a stray basketball that gets blocked and somebody swats it towards the road. You want as much interference there as possible. You don't want a basketball bouncing into Route 27.
Right.
right, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think the majority of days in the year, these parking spaces in this parking lot are not all taken. I mean, I drive by there every day, and they're hardly ever taken. I think it's the rare sporting event that they're filled. I'm going to kind of second what Bill said. I really like the planting on option 1, and I like the fact that you softened up this, the corner entryway here.
Yeah.
Which, you know, might even allow for some kind of small kiosk or something that, information board or a map board or something, that would allow for wayfinding, I think.
Yeah.
And eventually, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but people are going to be crossing the street at the crosswalk, that you have located
Yeah,
here.
and that's an
And then
existing one,
The
yeah.
existing one, okay. Well, they'll be crossing the street someplace here on one of these, on a
Mm-hmm.
crosswalk, because the new sidewalk's gonna go up the other side of the street along,
Right, all the way
By-
up.
all the
Clifford
way
Park.
up.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and I'd certainly agree with Bill. I don't see the need to build two tennis, or two basketball courts.
I think
I'm
we
not-
kind of said one.
Yeah.
Maybe this is before your time.
Yeah, I think, I haven't seen the signs out saying we want more basketball courts, so I think probably one will probably suffice. So that would save us some money on construction costs. And I certainly agree with moving it back so that there's space between the memorial and the court itself, so that we really can have sort of a more green
Yeah.
introduction.
And not need a big fence. I think that's important. I
Yeah,
agree with Tom
right,
100% on that. Put some picnic tables in there.
I have another question. The reason why I asked about the 60 feet on the one with the single court, I do have two small children, and the closest playground that we have is Clifford Park, and Clifford Park is in pretty bad shape. And I was actually just talking to another parent the other day about how it would be great if we actually had a playground for Booth Bay Harbor. At the time, I happened to be in Baird's Park, and I remember they used to have a playground there as well, but they tore it down. Has there ever been any suggestion or thought about putting a playground in that space?
The board might answer, because I think the call went out for suggestions, and people came to the board with their suggestions, and I wasn't a part of that, but maybe there was. I'm not sure.
I actually think that would be a great idea, Trish. I thought about that as well when we were working on this. The call went out. The response was certainly not overwhelming by any means, but there were more votes for a basketball court than anything else, is what I recall.
True. Yeah.
But it would be unfair to say that that was a huge number of votes at all.
I just see, granted, there's the basketball courts at the Y. They have indoor basketball courts available. I'm not saying not to have any at all, but definitely, thinking about the younger kids that we have
Right.
here, and there are some really great structures that you can get that are eco-friendly and actually would probably help with the low slope. You can have that filled in with everything from used tire materials to wood chips. But where we don't have one in Booth Bay Harbor, I think that should be thought about. I don't know.
I agree. I think at the very least, we ought to petition an area for the future building
Yeah.
of a playground.
Right.
I mean, you have small kids coming to watch their big brother play football,
Right.
and that lasts about 10 minutes, and then they're looking for something to do,
Oh,
right?
when we go to Clifford's Park with my children, and they have baseball on opposite days. My youngest goes to the park, and the other one is at the baseball field.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
That's-
yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice, especially if you found something that wasn't, a big, colorful.
Right.
Something
There's
that's
a lot
more
of,
Exactly.
natural
Yeah.
interpretation.
Cedar Works and
Yeah.
Waldenboro?
Yeah.
No, yeah, Waldenboro,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
They're really great product. So,
That might be the next, a second phase. I mean, I'd kind of like to at least get this first phase in the works. I mean, we have set some money aside.
No, I agree. What I'm suggesting is that we allow and designate an area in here for a future playground.
Sure.
But I agree, we should move ahead,
oh, yeah.
I think, with this first phase.
But if you have no intention of ever building two, then I would probably recommend that the second one be shifted in about 15 feet, so you don't have to do any gravel fill extension. You can just use the tennis court
Right,
base.
Right.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And then you would preclude yourself from adding it in the future. Of course, you could add paving on both sides, but.
No, I
So
think
you
that's
say that because the current tennis court gravel is already set back?
It ends
that
right
issue.
there. So, yeah, so if you did two, if you built this one thinking, one day I might add one
I
here.
see.
You'd
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
to,
we
we'd have
could
to go
use-
out and do some
right.
work there,
I
which
got
could
you.
be, you'd have to run some patches as well.
I'd be inclined to have one sort of right bisecting
Right in the,
Yeah.
those two,
Middle.
and then that would leave space out here for a playground and still have space in here for a buffer between the road and the courts.
Okay.
Who uses
So-
that parking? Is that
Who doesn't?
students or?
Everybody
I think
does.
the students park there.
Yeah, students park there.
Monday
It's
to
during the school
Friday.
year. And then,
Or for
But it's
school
not
events,
full.
everybody parks there.
It's not full.
When I remember, it was just, it's senior parking mostly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where are we here? What are we thinking?
I think we need a refined
About-
sketch.
We need
Yeah.
to stop waffling and
Right,
Yeah.
I move that we build one basketball court.
Wow.
Location to be determined.
Yeah, you could meet a dirt contractor out there, and we could
Yeah.
stake out the corners
Yeah.
and look at it, and, I mean, it could be very minimal, and, you could not do plans and just accept the base for what it is and get their recommendations and go that route, rather than try to over-engineer it and get into the longevity and the base and the drainage and all that. I guess
I think from a financial standpoint, we're gonna have to do this in phases anyway, because we only put, what, 15,000 aside at this point? That's
So
not
I'd
gonna
second
cover
that
all of
motion.
this.
Thank you.
okay. So you're saying build the one court
I'm
and
saying
do no
gonna-
other work?
No, I'm saying we're going to stop trying to think about one or two.
Yeah.
We're going to build
Just
one.
But just do that, no other work?
No, I'm not saying. This is an
Okay.
incremental advancement.
would
I-
you loam and seed over the remainder of the tennis, or would you leave it gravel?
No,
The motion was one.
It doesn't look
Yeah,
good.
we're-
Full court.
Looks awful. I
I,
can't stand
all
it.
right, let me revise my motion with the permission of my second. I move that we locate one basketball court in this general area with provisions for space for a future playground. And let me make the motion about the parking area a separate motion. Let's just do this part. So that's my
Okay, I'll
motion.
second that again.
All right.
Second.
Well, and if I may ask a clarification, I
Yes.
think what we're asking then is for Knickerbocker, Danielle, to then proceed with drafting up a revised plan based on this recommendation.
Yeah, but what I had in mind, and maybe this is not the right way to go, is to, move to do this with a playground area, and then secondly, have a motion and discussion about what to do with the parking
Parking,
area,
yeah.
and then ask Danielle to come forward with a plan for that result.
I'm just making two different issues completely.
Yeah, separating the two issues.
There's also something else you can do here besides even allocating the parking differently. It sounds like everyone's in agreement that along the road there, we're talking about revegetating that with trees. Change that so you still have your sidewalk, but you have a dirt area with your trees in it. That seems to be a no-brainer. Everybody seems to be in agreement with that. I would proceed with making a recommendation to go ahead with that as well, and then you can still figure out the parking lot configuration. That isn't going to change your configuration of the parking lot.
Yeah, the drop-off would require a little more study. I don't have topography in that area, so I'd probably, if I were going to do, a pavement extension, because the drop-off does go beyond into what is grass now, and it's lower, so it would need to be compacted, and I'd probably want to get a little more topography there and come up with a plan that has some elevations on it, and then you could use that to put out to bid with the same, excavation of 10 feet and replace with this material and install street trees. And so it could be one, if you wanted to do that, you could have one plan that showed all that, and the drop-off could be an alternate. You decide on once you have the pricing and you're better informed on how much that might be.
Works for me. I move what Danielle just said.
Can you say that again?
I retract my prior motion,
A plan,
with your permission.
more detailed plan showing one basketball court moved slightly closer to the road, reserving area.
Further
for
from-
No,
future
further from the
Further,
road.
from the road.
further.
Further
Further,
from,
okay.
toward the football
For the
field.
football field. Also including the removal of 10 feet of pavement for a landscape strip along the road, and also including details for the drop-off. And that would be an engineered set with details as appropriate, so that you could get numbers from the contractor.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And,
Perfect.
and and when you said
So,
drop off, and including this approach?
Yeah,
This
yeah, sure,
design?
yeah, in the pedestrian, improving the
call it.
pedestrian connectivity, yeah.
Yeah.
so are we, is that motion option 2's basketball court and option 1's parking arrangement, essentially, sort of?
Essentially with the basketball court
With
moved
the
back.
basketball
Yeah.
court moved in?
What I heard, and Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this part is, we're all sort of in agreement in. We want to create the green buffer as required by our codes. We want to push that parking back. And you were going to present some alternatives for this area.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not nuts about option 1's parking arrangement, so.
Which one are you?
This one, this curvy,
Okay.
roundy island.
Yeah, see, I think that's where we have still a
That's where there's
discussion to be had.
disagreement,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to be flexible on the curvy drop-off, whatever. But I think this
Yeah, that's nice.
pedestrian area helps with the entryway to
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
And could be a place for Wayfarer signage.
Yep.
So Danielle, in the revision, could you have something for the parking lot that perhaps retains the existing structure, but maybe makes some suggestions to make it a little more green friendly? Because when I think about it, I'm not hearing a great hue and cry that the townspeople feel we need to revise the parking lot.
Right, so maybe
And
no
spend the
drop-off
money,
lane,
yeah.
but just make it a little more green, or, you know.
Right, that might
little more
be
plantings.
appropriate, because
Yeah.
I'm not hearing people are having a big problem with how it is now.
Right.
And I'd rather spend the money frankly on landscaping that makes it look green
Right.
as opposed to pavement and
There is just
re-asphalting,
too much
so.
pavement there, and even places you can't park, you know,
Right,
and I
right.
agree, it's all paved and it doesn't need to be, so you
Doesn't
could,
need-
I mean,
You've got it.
Exactly.
that's
You've got
all
it,
pretty easy to do in
Yeah.
the scope of what you're talking about with
Great.
pavement, so, okay, sure, I'll do that.
Right, wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
right, great.
Do we need a vote on this motion?
Yeah,
Do we
well,
need a vote on this motion?
no, I withdraw it.
Yeah.
We'll make a
Again.
recommendation.
Third-
Yeah,
third
Move
second?
ahead, yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.
okay, yes,
I
thank
know,
you for
made
being so
Kelly's life
patient with
miserable.
us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Danielle.
Okay. Phil, you drafted up some ideas on procedures.
Were we gonna,
We're on 6C.
Yeah, I know.
Special amusement rules and procedures.
were we gonna talk at all about St. Andrews?
I forgot.
Is there anything that,
You have guys in ties
Oh,
back
yes,
here.
yeah, well, I was going to wait till public forum, but okay, sure. We'll have
wait,
St.
we're under old business. This
We
is
are.
not an old business
I know, it's a
item.
new business item.
Yeah, can we finish with old business? Before we move on to public forum?
Whatever you guys want.
Yeah. Well, it's 8:15. What?
Do you want to
Let's make-
table
let's-
the
Let's,
special amusement?
yes,
Yes, let's
Yes.
table that discussion for now. We could come back to it tonight, perhaps.
or next week, or the next meeting.
Yeah, or the next meeting.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll move on to new business. And the folks in the back of the room, are you representing St. Andrews Village or vendors or a project or something?
Yeah, I'm Matt Martin, Director of Operations for Lincoln County Healthcare, and I'm here with Wendy Roberts, as the Executive Director of St. Andrews Village. And what I'm going to look is her designated successor, who will be the next Executive Director of St. Andrews Village sometime this fall when Wendy moves on into retirement. We have received notice by Jeff Smith, Code Enforcement Officer, that there have been community complaints about construction vehicles moving in and out of our construction site that we have ongoing at the facility. For those who do not know, we are building a new 12-bed skilled nursing facility addition onto the north side of the building. Construction began about 3 weeks ago. And the vehicles are coming in and out. And at the moment, they're doing primarily site work to get the grounds around the building ready to begin constructing the new addition, which will be essentially a standalone building that's connected to the existing St. Andrews Village Inn. We have been using what has been a back maintenance and emergency vehicle access entrance for those vehicles, primarily at the request of our own residents, as the means for the construction vehicles to get in and out of the job site. Our understanding is that there have been a handful of complaints from the neighborhood, or just people in the neighborhood regarding the size of the vehicles and some noise that they're making. And Jeff thought it would be appropriate to address the select board about that tonight. There are really two entrances into St. Andrews Village. One of them is Emery Lane on Townsend Avenue, which is the Episcopal Church entrance. It's also the high school entrance, very, very busy part of town. The alternate is the back entrance that we have on Middle Road that is a less traveled road, potentially less disturbance for the community as a whole. But recognizing the existing neighbors do have concerns, we just wanted to come before the board and discuss it in a community forum to make sure that the concerns of the community are addressed here. So I'll turn it to anybody else that has something to say on the issue.
Well, let me say thank you for coming and explaining to us and explaining to our viewers what the construction is all about. I think it's wonderful news that the project is underway, that certainly the additional beds are something that I think a big portion of the community is really looking forward to. So it'll be, I'm sure, when they're done, a nice addition to St. Andrews Village, so that is great. To the best of my knowledge, we're really not the right board for you to be coming to. We can't take any action on this. I think it's a planning board issue.
Okay.
And it's one that you really need to take up with the planning board. I think that you're probably aware, Jeff, I'm sure gave you the, what is it called? The 2002
Yeah,
letter.
letter citing conditions on the road.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you need to probably operate under those conditions unless you work out something differently with the board, with the planning board.
Okay. Jeff had asked that we come before the select board tonight, because he said that the select board received complaints, and so we came forward to address the board. To the extent that we are not in compliance with the existing conditions that were placed upon the road, we will remedy that.
Okay, great.
And just let the town be aware that those vehicles are going to go in somewhere. There may be additional traffic closer to the school. This is projected to be about a 9-month construction project. Excuse me. The construction timeline is about 9 months. We're anticipating that we're going to finish sometime around the end of February or March if we stay on the construction timeline that our architect, engineers, and construction manager are designated for the project. We will do whatever the community asks us to do in terms of how we route those vehicles.
It may be helpful, since you'll be on cable television, but also perhaps explain in the register with a submitted story or something, kind of what's going on so people are aware of what the plan is, the longevity, why this is necessary, et cetera, and that just helps inform the public so people have a better understanding of why this is occurring. I think lots of times that sort of step is really helpful to mitigate the complaints, because then people understand what they're getting for the benefit, for the noise and the inconvenience, so.
Good.
To that end, and for the cable TV audience, we have the benefit of reading this letter, but they haven't. And just to make it clear, the issue is that the road you have been using originally was designated for emergency vehicles only, along with some 7 specific vehicles associated with St. Andrews, but was not permitted for construction vehicles. And so, as Denise said, you need to go before the planning board and see if they would change that condition.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Good luck with
Yeah,
the project.
thanks for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thanks
So,
for having us.
Hope it goes really well.
It's going really well.
Great. Okay. all right, do we want to go back and revisit your special amusement rules and procedures? Or
I think
do
we can
want to?
deal
Not
with that.
doing it?
Okay.
Or did you want to?
I think we could do it pretty quickly. Don't you?
Really?
No, I don't think so. Denise,
Okay.
Denise had some questions about it, and now that she understands it, she wants to mull over, and I think she should, the detailed numbers of
Okay.
how many people
That's
it would
fine.
take to.
Was I the only one who
effect
didn't understand this?
Well,
I
it wasn't on
like-
the agenda.
And
That
plus it wasn't on the
public.
this.
agenda.
And
yeah.
right, we shouldn't adopt it in any event until it's on the agenda.
Yeah, right.
I
There's
just
that.
feel dumb if I was the only one who didn't understand
No,
it.
no.
No. No. Plus, if we're lucky, the new communal
It'll
spirit
happen.
will,
Yeah.
will take care of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it another time.
Okay, so it'll be on the next meeting's agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Just taking a little note here.
So our 3 remaining public forum members.
Yes, public forum is next. Any public forum items?
I think you all are doing very well.
Thank you.
Oh, well, what a wonderful public forum. I think that's the best I've ever heard, actually, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that. That's
Okay.
very nice, then.
Do we want an executive session tonight?
You want to discuss the letter?
Yeah, so, yes,
should.
shall we?
Yes.
Go into executive
So-
session under,
I move that we go into executive session under MRSA 4056A, which is personnel matters?
Yes.
I believe.
okay, and do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor of going into executive session?
Yep.
We're going in at 8:21. And when we come out, we're doing the warrants and we're adjourned.